Right now, we are in a unique time whereby there's not a lot of houses available. There's a massive rental crisis whereby people are sleeping in cars and caravans. So there's a lot of pent up demand for rental properties, and people are bidding against each other to find a suitable rental property. So yeah, so Dan, what's your thoughts? And as a property manager, what are you seeing on the ground right now regarding rentals?
Well, look, I think we're like in a rental crisis, and we have been for quite a while now, which is quite concerning. But the other problem with the crisis is it's like, well, okay, we need to make sure that we have houses available, but how can we make more houses when the cost of building has gone up 20, 30, 40% in some cases? So that's the real difficulty we're in at the moment. It's being able to build additional dwellings. And to what we were talking about earlier with Wally, now with the CDC side of things, the government understands that council can't keep up with the requirements. They're taking too long for DAs. So now builders and certifiers and things like that have come across to use the CDC process to get things done, which is making it a lot quicker. But the best thing about it is it's such a good time now for investors, because there's actually ways to maximize it, where everyone's like, oh, interest rates are too expensive. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. But what you've got to do when the market's crazy is think about how to maximize it in a tough time. And the best way to maximize it in a time like this is to look at, obviously, a smaller home or a granny flat, something that's going to cost you less, but get maximum return. So like we were talking about earlier, you pay, 150 grand for the granny flat. You spend a couple of dollars to do your grass, your gardening, fences, you spend 170, 180, and that thing's getting you what? 350 to 450 a week rent. The yield on that's around 20%. Like there's no investment that you could do sustainably in Australia to get a 20% return on bricks and mortar. Unless you're running a drug lab out of a house.
Yeah, right. Yeah, then, and that's really interesting, Daniel, because like if you've got a block of land and, given the current, situation and circumstance, it does make sense to be creative and to add a granny flat to your property and, actually help your fellow neighbor out and provide them with some accommodation too. So it is incredible right now, and there's a lot of opportunity in this space, and we know that people are getting creative with Airbnb and even building a granny flat for themselves if they've bought in a nice lifestyle location whereby it's above 450 square meters in land size, and they build a 60 square meter granny flat, 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom, no need for parking. It does really make sense because, if you're looking at a short-term rental situation, you can, Airbnb it for a period of time and then go live in that property whenever you want some downtime. So it does have a lot of benefits using that strategy.
I think also there's a lot of opportunities to invest in a state, but which a lot of people don't really want to do. But at the end of the day, like if you explain it to people how they go, oh, I want to buy an investment property in my area so I can go and check it out whenever I want. I own that house, but you legally can't check it out whenever you want. Like they have a rental agreement, they have an occupying place in agreement where they have more rights to that house than you. So you actually can't even go and look at it when you want, but you think you can. So there's that trust, there's that sense of peace and mind and things like that. But I could actually tell you more things about your property from the data online than you could walk in and tell your property on its own. So the way that technology is became is we don't need to physically go to a house to find out anything, what needs to be done in terms of how it was built, what's the structure, things like that. All the information is online.
It's on.
And now tenants are even taking their own pictures and things to make it easier because we've changed in the world of COVID. Like you don't need to buy a property in your area. And with the statistics, like why would you want to buy a property? An example, let's say, I don't know, where I live now, you can go and buy a house in Spring Farm and essentially it's what, 900K. and you're going to get maybe $500 a week rent. So your yield's around 3%. But exactly, like, so just because I could potentially drive past at one time to see if it's still there, hello, there's Google Earth. You can check the house is there all the freaking time. People need to really understand that this trust of having to buy where they are, if they're going to continue to do that, they're going to miss out on the market. And the problem with that is, if you keep missing out on the market because you're too scared, you're trying to chase something that's faster than you. The market's always going to go quicker than you. So if you don't adapt to it, you're not going to be part of the market. And that's what I want real people to understand. And that's why we do so much researching and effort based on the due diligence to make sure that the zoning's correct, to make sure there's no issues with the property, make sure if it's a complex, the strata's up to date, make sure the sinking fund's got enough money in it so you're not forking out thousands of dollars in strata and things like that. Like, there's so many things you can do from a professional perspective from a distance that people can't even do themselves. So what's the point of having a place you can drive by and have a look at? That's just like driving past a tree and looking at it. Like, you can't really do anything. It's just seeing it. It's a visual, right?